Who was Mary Magdalene before she followed Jesus? The Bible tells us only a few things about her, yet those few words changed history forever. Luke writes that Jesus cast 7 demons out of Mary Magdalene. But what was her life like before that moment? The scriptures remain silent. So let us travel back to the shores of the Sea of Galilee, to a thriving fishing town called Magdala. The morning sun slowly rose above the waters of Galilee. Fishing boats returned to the harbor after a long night. Merchants opened their stalls. Children laughed as they chased one another through the narrow stone streets. The smell of fresh bread mixed with the salty breeze drifting in from the lake. To an outsider, Magdala looked like a prosperous town. But every town has its whispers, and every whisper begins with a name. In Magdala, that name was Mary. People lowered their voices whenever she passed. Some crossed the street, others pulled their children closer. A few simply watched from a distance. No one seemed to know exactly what had happened to her, only that something had. Some claimed she screamed through the night. Others swore they had seen her wandering alone in the hills long after midnight. Many believed she had lost her mind. Others said darker things. In those days, people often feared what they could not explain, and fear quickly became gossip. Gossip became judgment. Judgment became loneliness. Mary carried all of it. There had been a time when her smile was easy, when she walked freely through the marketplace, when neighbors greeted her by name. But those days now felt like another lifetime. Something inside her had changed, or perhaps something had taken hold of her. The Bible never tells us how her suffering began, only that by the time Jesus met her, she needed a miracle. Every morning she hoped the darkness would finally disappear. Every evening it returned. Some days were quiet. Others felt like a storm no one else could see. There were moments when fear gripped her without warning, moments when despair wrapped itself around her heart, moments when she felt like a prisoner inside her own life. She searched for peace, but peace always slipped away. Her family tried to help. Neighbors offered advice. Some suggested physicians. Others recommended rituals and prayers. Nothing seemed to change. The more people whispered, the more isolated she became. Loneliness has a way of making even the brightest days feel cold. Mary knew that feeling well. She often walked to the edge of the Sea of Galilee before sunrise. There, the world was quiet. The waves gently touched the shore. Birds circled above the water. For a few brief moments, the noise inside her seemed farther away. She would watch fishermen preparing their nets. She wondered what it must feel like to wake each morning with purpose, to live without fear, to breathe without carrying invisible chains. One afternoon, as merchants filled the marketplace, an unusual excitement spread through the town. People abandoned their conversations. Others hurried toward the city gate. "What happened?" someone asked. "A teacher from Nazareth," another replied. "They say he heals the sick." "No," someone interrupted. "They say the blind can see again, and the lame walk." Another voice whispered. "Some even say he commands unclean spirits." Mary stopped walking. For the first time in many months, she listened. Stories about miracle workers were common. Most disappeared as quickly as they appeared. But something about these stories felt different. The people speaking were not laughing. They were amazed. One elderly fisherman shook his head slowly. "I know the man whose son was healed. I've seen him myself." A woman standing nearby added, "My cousin traveled to Capernaum. She said no one had ever spoken the way this man speaks. He teaches with authority, and people leave changed." Mary looked toward the road leading north. Nazareth, Capernaum. The names echoed in her mind. Could anyone truly change a life like hers? Or were these simply more stories designed to give desperate people false hope? She wanted to believe, but disappointment had taught her to guard her heart. Still, for reasons she could not explain, she could not stop thinking about the name everyone was repeating: Jesus. As the sun disappeared beyond the hills, Mary stood alone watching the last light fade across the waters of Galilee. The wind carried distant voices through the evening air. Someone, somewhere, spoke his name again. Jesus. She whispered it quietly to herself, not knowing that before many days had passed, she would meet the man who would change her life forever. For several days, Mary tried to forget the name, Jesus. She told herself it was just another story, another traveling teacher, another promise that would fade with time. She had learned not to trust hope too easily. Hope could be cruel. It lifted the heart only to let it fall again. Yet everywhere she went, people spoke about him. In the marketplace, fishermen discussed the miracles they had witnessed. Along the shoreline, travelers described crowds gathering wherever he appeared. Even the children repeated his name while playing in the streets. Jesus is coming. He's near Capernaum. They say he healed a man who couldn't walk. They say demons obey him. Mary froze. Those last words echoed inside her. Demons obey him. She had heard many religious teachers speak. They recited the law. They offered prayers. Some blamed the suffering for hidden sins. Others simply walked away. But no one spoke with authority over the darkness. No one. Until now. That night, sleep never came. She stared into the darkness of her small room. The silence felt heavier than ever. Her thoughts raced. Could this Jesus truly free people, or would she only face another disappointment? She covered her face with trembling hands. For years, she had carried a burden too heavy to describe. There were moments she barely recognized herself, moments when fear overwhelmed every thought, moments when she felt trapped inside a prison no one else could see. Sometimes she cried out to God. Sometimes she wondered if anyone was listening. The next morning, the streets of Magdala were unusually crowded. Word had spread quickly. Jesus was passing through nearby villages. People began leaving their homes before sunrise. Parents carried sick children. Friends supported those unable to walk. Old men leaned upon wooden staffs. The desperate, the forgotten, the broken, all traveled for the same reason. They believed there was still hope. Mary watched them from a distance. She wanted to go. Every part of her longed to follow. Yet another voice whispered within her, "What if nothing changes? What if everyone sees you? What if even he turns you away?" Fear can be stronger than chains. It convinces people to remain prisoners even when the door is open. Hours passed. The crowd had almost disappeared. The streets grew quiet once more. Mary remained standing alone. Then, an elderly woman approached her. She carried a small basket of bread beneath one arm. She looked at Mary, not with fear, not with pity, but with kindness. "I saw him," the woman whispered. Mary looked up. "He touched a man everyone had given up on." The man walked home. Tears filled the old woman's eyes. "I have never seen anything like it." Mary's heart began to race. "What is he like?" she asked softly. The woman smiled. "He looks at people as if he already knows every wound they carry, but he isn't afraid." Those words lingered in Mary's heart long after the woman had gone. He isn't afraid. How long had it been since someone looked at her without fear? The following day, Mary finally made her decision. Before dawn, she wrapped her cloak around her shoulders. The streets were empty. Only the sound of distant waves broke the silence. She stepped beyond the gates of Magdala. Each step felt uncertain. She did not know where the road would lead. She did not know whether she would ever reach him. She knew only one thing: she could not continue living as she had. As the morning light spread across the hills of Galilee, travelers began joining the same road. Some carried stories of miracles. Others carried broken hearts. One young father held his feverish son. An elderly blind man walked with the help of his grandson. A widow whispered quiet prayers beneath her breath. Different lives, different burdens, yet all were walking toward the same man. By midday, the road curved around the hillside. Suddenly, Mary heard voices, not angry voices, not frightened ones, joyful voices. A great crowd had gathered below. People stood shoulder to shoulder. Some climbed rocks just to catch a glimpse. Children laughed. Others wept openly. At the center of them all, a single man was speaking. Mary could not yet hear his words. She could only see him from a distance. There was nothing outwardly remarkable about his appearance. No royal robes, no soldiers, no throne. And yet, the crowd watched him with complete attention. Some faces were filled with tears, others with hope. It was as though every person standing there believed that this man carried the answer they had been searching for. Mary remained at the edge of the crowd. Her hands trembled. Her breathing grew shallow. For a moment, she almost turned back. Then, Jesus lifted his eyes. Across the sea of faces, his gaze rested on hers. It lasted only an instant, but something inside Mary changed. For the first time in years, she did not feel invisible. She did not feel condemned. She felt seen. She had traveled only a few miles from Magdala, yet somehow it already felt as though she had crossed into another world. She had no idea that the next words Jesus would speak to her would change her life forever. The crowd fell silent. Jesus continued speaking. His voice was calm, yet every word carried authority. He spoke about the kingdom of God, about forgiveness, about the Father who welcomes the lost, about a shepherd who leaves 99 sheep to search for the one that is missing. Mary listened from the edge of the crowd. Each sentence seemed to reach places inside her that no one else had ever touched. She had spent years believing she was beyond hope, too broken, too far gone, too forgotten. But this teacher spoke as though no one was ever beyond God's mercy. For a moment, she dared to believe that perhaps even she had not been forgotten. Then the unexpected happened. A man was carried through the crowd. His body shook violently. His family struggled to hold him. People stepped back in fear. Some covered the mouths of their children. Others whispered, "An unclean spirit." Mary felt her heart begin to race. She knew those frightened looks. She had seen them directed at herself countless times. The man cried out with a voice that hardly sounded human. The crowd froze, but Jesus did not move away. He stepped toward the suffering man. No fear, no hesitation, only compassion. Then he spoke, not loudly, not dramatically, but with quiet authority. "Be silent and come out of him." The man collapsed to the ground. For one terrible moment, no one moved. Then slowly, the man opened his eyes. The terror was gone. His breathing became calm. His face looked peaceful. A gasp spread through the crowd. Someone whispered, "Even the unclean spirits obey him." Another replied, "Who is this man?" The news spread through the people like fire carried by the wind. Mary stood motionless, her eyes filled with tears. She had just witnessed something impossible. Not a trick, not a performance. A life had been restored. Suddenly, Jesus turned. The crowd parted as he began walking directly toward her. Mary felt every heartbeat. Her legs refused to move. She wanted to run, yet something held her there. Jesus stopped only a few steps away. For a long moment, neither of them spoke. He looked into her eyes, not at her appearance, not at the whispers surrounding her, not at the years of pain. He looked at her as though he already knew every chapter of her story. Mary lowered her head. Shame flooded her heart. If he truly knew everything, surely he would turn away. Instead, she heard the gentlest voice she had ever known. "Do not be afraid." Those words broke something inside her. How many years had she lived in fear? How many nights had she believed no one could ever help her? Now, for the first time, someone told her not to be afraid, and somehow she believed him. The Gospel of Luke later records only a single sentence about this moment, that Jesus had cast out 7 demons from Mary Magdalene. Luke 8:2 simply says, "Mary, called Magdalene, from whom 7 demons had come out." The Bible gives no details. It does not describe what people saw. It does not tell us how long the moment lasted. It leaves the miracle wrapped in quiet mystery. But imagine the silence that must have followed. The woman everyone had feared now stood completely still. The fear that had ruled her life was gone. The darkness had lifted. Mary slowly raised her eyes. For the first time in years, she felt free. Not because every question had been answered, not because every wound had disappeared in an instant, but because the chains that had held her captive had been broken. No one spoke. Many stared in disbelief. Others simply wept. Some remembered the frightened woman who wandered alone outside the city. Now they saw someone entirely different. Peace rested upon her face. It was the kind of peace no physician could give, the kind no amount of money could buy, the kind that only God could place within a human heart. Jesus smiled gently. He did not ask her to repay him. He did not remind her of her past. He did not shame her before the crowd. His mercy spoke louder than words. Mary fell to her knees. Tears streamed down her face, not tears of fear, but tears of gratitude. For years she had searched for freedom. She had searched in silence, in loneliness, in despair. Now she had found it. Or rather, freedom had found her. As the sun slowly descended toward the Sea of Galilee, Mary watched Jesus continue down the road. The crowd followed him. Without hesitation, Mary stood. She took one last look toward the distant rooftops of Magdala, the town where her suffering defined her. Then she turned and began walking after Jesus. She did not yet know where the road would lead. She only knew one thing: she would never be the same again. End of episode 1.